Hello and welcome back to The Sweet Spot. Have you ever wondered what exactly you need to do to your pages to help them rank higher in Google? Then this episode is for you. I'm going to cover today things that are in your control for your SEO that you can change on your website. And this is specifically 11 areas that you can optimize on your pages. You are listening to The Small Business Sweet Spot. I'm Barb Davids, and this is the place for fluff-free and actionable information around SEO and content marketing so that you can get more website traffic and more sales. So let's get into the 11 areas that you can optimize on your web pages. And applying 11 things or going through 11 areas on every single page may seem a little daunting. However, please know that not every single one of these items are going to be on every single one of your pages. And some of them are even like super fast things that you can do, and some might take a little time. So it's going to vary from page to page and industry to industry. And along the way, I'll give examples so that you can better know how to apply or not apply these areas to pages of your website. Okay, the first area to optimize is your images on the page. And probably the most common scenario is people, or you might take and download something from Canva or a website that offers images, or if you're a photographer, the ones that come off of your camera. By default, the file names are like golf, right? They have some sort of numbers, they have some sort of name. Canva has like a page title or the name of the Canva project. It has that as the default for the page or for the image name. So that is the first thing to optimize. When you download it, if you happen to know your target keyword or the topic, you'll want to rename the file name with that. So if it's topic A, you do topic A.jpg. And then if you have more than one image, you can do topic A-1.jpg or whatnot and go on. Most of the time too, you could probably just use your headline or the title of the blog post that you're working on as the file name. The second part is the image alt text. So for accessibility purposes, the image alt text is read out loud. So the idea of what to put in there ideally should be something that if you read out loud what the image was, that would describe it. If you happen to know your topic keyword or the topic that you're focusing on for this particular page, then you can try to put that in the image alt text if it fits naturally. I wouldn't force it or anything. The third part for image optimization is the file size of the image. A lot of the time, there are some auto tools that you can use in WordPress or add-ons to your website that will smush or compress the images without compromising the quality. And also you want to make them the size that they are for the space. So for example, if you have like half of the page, but your image is literally like 5 times as big, that's too big. You want to make it smaller so that it fits the space. So those 3 areas are the biggest things for image optimization. So it is file name and the image alt text and the file size. The second area of optimization is the URL. By default, if you're mostly in WordPress, most of the tools will take whatever the headline is and make that be the URL. However, you can optimize it if you would like to so that it includes the target keyword, maybe a little bit more succinctly, depending on what your headline is. You can remove stop words like a, the, than, and those kinds of things. If you do choose to change your URL, use dashes versus underscores. Don't use any other punctuation. It's just a little bit easier readability in that form. Now, on a side note, when you are creating your blog post, let's say you have a numbered list, and let's say it's 11 areas of optimization. Technically, you wouldn't want to include the number 11 because it might change later and just makes it more difficult to manage the maintenance, I guess, of the URL. You have to set up redirects, and it gets a little bit clunky if you have to change it, basically. The other one is like dates. So if you're doing like a trending topic or what's the best for 2024, try to keep the year out of the URL. So that way you're only working with the headline. It's just much cleaner and it doesn't date the article as much. Okay, the third part is optimizing your page title and your meta description. So this is the part where if you go into Google, you type in a keyword, that what you see on the page is the meta title and the meta description. By default, it usually takes the headline and then the first few words of the page text. But you can change it so that it maybe reads differently or compels people in a different way when they're on the search engine results page. So the page title, generally speaking, is less than 60 characters, and the meta description is less than 160 characters. And ideally, you would want to create it in such a way that if you saw your page title and your description along with some other competitors, would someone want to click yours over someone else's? That's really what's the driving factor of what you write inside of there. Sometimes I like to compare this like a shopping window. So this is the shopping window of your website. Is there stuff in the window display? Is your meta description compelling enough that people would want to step into your website and see what you have to offer? Number 4, optimize the page body's content. Most of the optimization is going to take place in this area. Generally speaking, what I refer people to do is to write at least 800 words. I have found like if you write less than that on a blog post, it generally just kind of feels surface level. But if you have 800 more or more words, it feels like there's some substance to it. Now, that said, again, I have to say that I have to walk around with a big disclaimer. It's really going to depend on the topic that you're talking about, an industry you're in, and what you're writing about. If you can get the point across and maybe it's just a short snippet of a subject, certainly write less if you want. Some steps you can take to make your content a little bit more digestible are things like subheadings, bullet lists, full quotes. You can change the font to different colors. You can change just the font to different sizes, add images, add charts, add screenshots, those kinds of things. Okay, the fifth area is use a call to action on every single page or at the end of every blog post. At the heart of what we're doing with our website is enticing people to want to work with us or get to know us better. And that means either downloading a PDF or contacting us or scheduling a call, something like that. And that is considered a call to action. We want to help people get to that next step. So if someone lands on a blog post, we want to give them, okay, what can I do next? Do I just call you? Do I go on to other information? So add a call to action at the bottom of every page. And here's a pro tip for the call to action. At the bottom, if you want somebody to contact you, rather than link them off to the contact page, put your contact form right at the bottom. It's one less step for them to have to take. Number 6, add engagement points. This goes right along hand in hand with number 5 about optimizing the body copy. We want to keep our readers engaged. While Google hasn't said it's an explicit ranking point, or at least at the time of this recording, there is strong evidence and there's a lot of information out there suggesting that when people land on your website, if they don't jump off, that is a positive like tick or check mark for your website. So adding engagement points can help keep them there and help keep them engaged. Things like full quotes. Full quotes are basically something from your body copy that you put in a very attractive manner in larger text perhaps, or something like a quote that would be able to share in some social posts. Some other common engagement points are photos or GIFs or memes. Sometimes it might be a screenshot. I've even seen it where there are quizzes or polls right inside of the content where if somebody clicks, it doesn't take them off the page. That's definitely an engagement point. Number 7, check your EAT signals. So this is EEAT, experience, expertise, authority, and trust. So these are things that tell Google and people that are visiting your website whether or not they can trust you. These are things like the about page, a privacy policy, sprinkling customer testimonials even throughout your website helps with those signals. One thing to check that I have noticed quite a bit lately is people missing the author bios at the bottom of their blog posts. So a lot of the time what you can do is click a button inside of WordPress, if that's the one you're using, and it will automatically put your bio at the bottom of every blog post. You don't have to do it manually every single time. But putting that information there is a good way to say, hey, there's a real person behind this. I'm really writing this, and tells a little bit more about you and how you got into the business or however you want to share or what you want to share inside of your bio. Consider schema markup. Okay. I'm not going to go into super techie detail parts, but just know there are ways to add schema markup to your website using plugins and or even copy pasting code. I used to do that as well. Instead of having the plugin, I would go somewhere that would generate the code for me, and then I would put it into the web page. And schema markup is just basically Google speak. It's almost like if you think about like the library with the Rolodex, it's kind of like that. It is saying, okay, instead of having Google scan your page for a phone number, you explicitly give the phone number. It says TEL or telephone phone number. There's something with the business schema markup, and it will tell Google what the telephone number is. Schema markup is very popular with recipe websites. By the way, if you have a recipe website, please, for the love of beer, stop telling the whole back end story and stop with the pop ups. Okay, I just had to quick say that because it drives me nuts. But schema markup, it is probably the most common one is maybe a service markup you could put on your service page. There's FAQ schema markup. So if you've ever seen on the Google search results pages where there's like two questions underneath a result, that is most likely the FAQ schema markup, and it only allows for two. The other thing you could check is your SEO plugin. Sometimes, and it's usually not in the free tools, usually it's in the paid ones, but sometimes they have the opportunity to put schema markup, and you can just choose from drop downs and fill in some information, and then you're good to go. Number 9, links to other pages within your site. This one helps your reader. It also helps Google to understand the context of what you're talking about when you link to other pages that are around the same topic. Internal linking can also signal to Google what other pages are important on to your website. So remember when we were talking about the call to action and the contact page? If you link to the contact page a ton of times, then Google is going to think that that is your most important page. Well, while you could argue that it is because you want people to contact you, really it's your homepage or your service page or maybe some blog post depending on your strategy. Number 10 is links to pages outside of your website. At the time of this recording, there are some rumblings saying that that doesn't matter anymore. Like it's not something that is taken into account for your overall ranking, your ranking credibility when it comes to Google. However, it's still helpful to know, like if there is some more information that you would like to provide somebody who's reading your website, but you don't have it on your website yet, or maybe somebody else has just covered it in a different way, then send that link out to that other website. Just ensure that when there's usually in the background when you're putting that link in there to say open in a new window. So that way it doesn't take them off of your website, it keeps them there. Number 11, update the publish date. Technically, if you were to update the publish date in the background of your website, let's say WordPress, for example, Google doesn't, it's not going to fake Google out. So you can't tell them, hey, I published it last year. I'm going to change the publish date and then it's going to be published this year. That doesn't work. It can see when it was originally published. However, depending on if it's a refreshed item, you could put in the copy, if it's like a trend piece, refreshed this year, and then put the year, date, month, whatever. So that way when people land on the page, they know that it's fresh content and they don't think it's stale. And again, it's good to avoid adding dates into the URL for the purposes that we talked about earlier. Okay, here's the one takeaway. Pick a page on your website, maybe a service page, maybe even a home page, whichever one calls out to you, and see if there's any of these areas that you can make improvements on. Make the improvements, but then first go over to Google Search Console, take a look and see where it sits in terms of ranking and how many impressions and the click-through rate. And then once you make the adjustments, make note of the date, come back 2 weeks and see if there's any changes. If there's not any changes, maybe wait a couple more weeks and just see. And if you're still not seeing any progress in Google Search Console, go back through those points and see if there's anything else. Sometimes I will say we are a little bit too close to our own website, and it does help to get outside information or even outside eyeballs. And if this is you and you are tired of spinning your wheels around SEO and ready to grow your business, this is your opportunity to join Grow with SEO, a personalized solution to help you go through things like these optimization techniques and to help you get higher rankings. Information for this opportunity will be in the show notes as well as the checklist for all of these areas and these optimizations. Com. And that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for more episodes to help your business thrive online. We'll see you in the next sweet spot. Cheers. Thank you for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you're looking for SEO and content marketing help, you can find all kinds of information at compassdigitalstrategies.com. And if you like the episode, please tell a friend. Cheers.